Our ship finally docked after a 2-year journey. We left our cryogenic pods, muscles sore after a nearly endless hibernation. An attendant took us from the ship to the station where we would be staying. Through the glass tube, they called this the Red Planet as everything that covered it was a shade of rust. The blood-iron soil joined the scarlet sky. They brought me here to study the channels, a vast tunnel network on the surface of Mars, a result of melting ice. I glanced at the landscape in the distance, towering, triangular structures resting on the horizon. Supposedly, they were natural phenomena, but the channels fed to them. A man led me back to my quarters and gave me a prepared meal along with some purified water. It was simple and freeze-dried, but the most I had eaten in months. They would give me 24 hours to acclimate, but my first mission would be tomorrow. I was ordered to immediately begin looking into the channels near the network of pyramids. Sick of sleep, I went to the gymnasium at the station. It felt great to exercise and move the stiffness out of my body, even if a freezing 2-minute shower followed. I left refreshed and mingled with the crew of the space station. This station held people from all nations. I had advanced knowledge of geology and was preparing to take soil and mineral samples. Perhaps I would be lucky enough to find a source of water in this place. When I told people I was going through the channels later that day, they all fell silent. Some told me to be careful and warned me of hazards. What's weird is one of the chief scientists pulled me aside and said that the last geologist at the channels had met an untimely demise. Then, unfortunately, the man went into gruesome detail about how he had found the geologist with his helmet removed and his eyes missing. The medical staff believed he had a mental break, that he simply couldn't adjust to the new environment. The chief continued and said that I could have an extra day to adjust and see a therapist if needed. I told him that I had spent 2 years cramped on a shuttle and did not care to spend my time on a cramped Martian station. I told him I would let him know if anything unusual happened in the channels. I shirked this experience off. I felt perfectly fine, and I just needed to get outside. We left only a few hours later. The rover would take an hour to reach the channels. I left with a fellow geologist and a passenger rover that steadily made its way towards the pyramids. The sky gleamed overhead in shades of orange, vermilion, and scarlet, shot with millions of stars. Immense mountains loomed in the distance, shadows stretching for eternity. Despite the fiery colors, I knew that the air was freezing, and without my spacesuit I would surely die in an instant. Just thinking about that made my body shiver. I wiggled my fingers and toes, activating the thermal device that warmed my body instantly. After an hour, the rover stopped, and we got out and went to our work. I took small glass vials and filled them with red soil. I was so immersed in my work that I did not hear the panicked screams of my partner. I didn't notice the massive dust storm until it was too late. Lightning coursed through the dust as silt pelted me. I leaned against the howling wind until I came to the base of the pyramid. Hunkering down, I hoped I would have enough shelter to survive. Suddenly, something tapped my shoulder, and I turned around, thinking it was my partner. Instead, a pale creature with huge indigo eyes stood in front of me. It spoke to me, and I listened to its words. They reverberated through me, and I was at one with everything. I simultaneously understood the meaning of the universe and of God. Mars, Earth, the entire universe suddenly seemed so tiny. I understood greatness beyond measure, spoken through the words of this being. It gave me the solution to hunger. It told me how to end violence and greed, told me how to bring peace to all of humanity. And I stood there, enraptured in its words. The storm ended, leaving a vast array of stars in a crimson sky, all aligned perfectly. The creature walked away and stopped speaking to me, vanishing into the red earth. Sickly human flesh surrounded me, its animal smell filling my nose. I tried to remember the greatness that it bestowed on me, but it left my mind like water flowing out of a stream. It took me only a moment to realize that that smell came from me. My body was slowly rotting, and I smelled nothing but death and decay, the weakness of humanity, and my own crippling ignorance. I wanted to tear off my helmet and gulp in the helium air until I no longer existed. I wanted to gouge my eyes out so as to not see the muted colors. Oh, how I wish I had listened more intently, and how I wish his wisdom did not leave my mind. Everything seemed so pointless without his words. But now I'm here, in this room of white padded walls until the next ship comes to fetch me. They are no longer sending people to the channels as it causes mental instability. I just wished I remembered what that being told me. I wish I could remember so I could fix us all, if only I remembered what it told me. I had seen the face of God, and nothing else in this world was worthy enough for my sight.